Welcome Anja van Niersen to Scania stand here at IAA. You are the CEO of the joint venture CV Charging Europe. Would you like to tell us a bit more on what the joint venture is about?
Yes, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here on this great stand. CV Charging Europe is a joint venture that was founded by three major truck OEMs, being Traton, of course, owning Scania and MAN, but also Volvo and Daimler. And these three met each other in a joint ambition to electrify the long-haul trucking market. So that's of course a great ambition, but you cannot drive an electric truck without having the right charging infrastructure along the route. So that's why they said we will want to build this joint venture, and for that reason we are here. So we are really here to build the basic charging infrastructure across Europe so that everybody can be part of the transformation to electric long-haul trucking.
Perfect. And how many charging points will be built and when?
Well, we are now, so the amount of charging points, of course, will be depending on the uptake of the market. But we are now planning at least for a basic rollout of 1,700 chargers across Europe. So that is just the basic rollout to give confidence to the market that it is feasible to start driving electric with a truck.
So you were referring to 1,700 charging points. Will that be enough for Europe?
Well, I hope not. So I hope that the uptake in the market will go way steeper than is anticipated right now. And looking at the point where total cost of operation will be below price of diesel, and that is to be expected in 25 already, I think the uptake will be way faster than everybody thinks that there is now. And if that is the case, the 1,700 for sure will not be enough.
You were previously heading Allego, which installed 30,000 charging points for passenger cars. What would you say is the main difference between charging heavy-duty vehicles and passenger cars?
Yeah, it sounds the same. Charging is charging, pulling in a plug and go charge. There is a big difference between the consumer market and the commercial vehicle market, which is primarily a B2B market. If you have a car, you drive around, you can charge wherever you like, you can charge in different speeds, very often at home. And if you come in a location where the charger is not working, and believe me, that happens a lot, you can just drive 10 minutes further and you have a charger that's working. And it can be annoying, but it really is not that urgent. If you look at commercial vehicle charging, it's B2B charging. And these trucks really depend on their driving times and resting times. So the charging infrastructure and services should be always on, always available, 100% uptime. Because that driver is depending for his work on the availability and the accessibility of the charging infrastructure. So it's very, very important that this, even more than on the passenger car side, that we can guarantee this 100% availability. And that is only possible if we make the whole chain of charging as simple as possible. So with as less as possible interfaces, so that there is no room for failure. And that is what we are trying to do now, so that we can at all times guarantee availability to the truck driver.
The transition of heavy-duty vehicles are now much ongoing. We can see it also here at the fair, that we have lots of electric vehicles on display in many of the different stands. What would you say is the most important thing that you can do to help this shift, the transition of the electric vehicles?
Of course, it is very important that the charging infrastructure is there, that people see it on the street, and that will give confidence to the logistic firms to start driving electric. But they can only do that if they see that the trucks are there. So a mutual ramp up of charging infrastructure as well as production capability of trucks needs to be done hand in hand. And also there needs to be a great deal of alignment on where the trucks will drive first. So that is what needs to be done. What I've not seen here, and that's a bit surprising to me, is that I get a lot of requests from consumer-oriented companies who want to reduce their footprint. And they would like to give requirements to their transportation companies to start driving electric, because that will reduce the footprint for the total product. And that is an angle I think that we need to explore more, because that could really be a strong driver for this electrification of transportation.
If you would talk about the wish lists from policymakers, what would that be? What is needed from a policy perspective?
Well, the policymakers, of course, are focusing a lot on reducing the CO2 targets towards 2030, Paris Agreement, very important. But to do that, we need to make sure that the energy system is ready for the electrification of not only transportation, but a lot of other markets as well. So in order to get there, it is very important that the policymakers give priority to having the right grids built out at the right places and securing the right levels of green energy at the right place. So I would expect from the policymakers that first of all they help building out the grids and getting the energy there. That's one thing. The other thing is to provide the right measures for commercial vehicles. So not only for consumer, but also for the business-to-business market, which is not the same as I explained, but to have clear policies for MCS charging so that we can really ramp up that market and not need to wait for all kinds of policies that still needs to be invented. So that would be my plea to the European, but also the national governments to work on that.
Are there any countries in Europe where you see are kind of forerunners that are heading this transition with different policies or incentives?
Yeah, what you see right now is that in some countries they are working heavily with subsidies, like here in Germany. There's a very heavy subsidy scheme. And that's very good for people to get convinced in getting the right trucks and getting infrastructure in. But that will not work if the energy system is not capable of dealing with the demand. So it needs to be a balanced approach of either putting subsidies in and at the same time making sure that the energy system is ready to take the electrification in.
So, very nice to have you here, Anja. It was super interesting to hear about all your plans. We are looking forward to hear more about them onwards. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me here on this very great stand with all these electric trucks. I'm very thrilled to be here. Thank you.